All right, we're going to try this again. This is the second most common one we do. This is a third bag. I call it the Tiffany. It has got a bag of 2.5, a second bag of 2.5, and a last fill of isodex. Those are all set in the proper places. I've already tubed or primed my tubing for my manual exchange bag of isodex. I'm going to go ahead and pop my cassette in. See if I can do this one-handed. Maybe not. Probably not. Okay, hang on. I'm going to make sure that none of these are kinked and caught when I close the door, because it'll cause you major problems. Check all your edges. Be very careful. It's easy to stick your finger in there. That's okay. You're going to close your door, and sometimes it's a little difficult to close, so I'm going to put this on pause again. This is where normally you go from your right to your left. This is where you're going to find that there's a deviation from that. So this first one is going to go to your drain bag. You're going to pop your tops and screw that in. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Your next one is your heat. So red always goes to heat. So this one is going to go to this drain bag here. You're going to pop your top and screw it in. I'll be right back. You're also going to break your phalanges at this time. This one here is next. It's going to go to your secondary 2.5 bag. You're going to pop it and screw that one in, and then once again break your phalanges. This is the one time, if this one here, if you had a fourth bag, which does not happen very often, you would use this one. When you have a third bag, like your isodex, you end up using the blue. So as usual, I'm going to pop the tops off, and hook it into my manual exchange bag at the bottom shelf. And also break my phalanges. For the most part, that's the extent of hooking up your bags. I go ahead and I clamp all my clamps. Actually, I unclamp all my clamps. Sorry, I had clamped them on when I first started the video. This one you could technically leave clamped. It doesn't really matter. Once again, I check all my phalanges. Make sure they're open. Make sure this clamp is open. Check my phalanges as well on this last bag. That clamp on your drain bag will stay closed at all times unless you're draining that bag. This is to the point where you would go into the patient room, since most of our machines don't have battery backup. You'll see that it's going to give you a wait. That can take a while. Usually I start setting up other things or doing the rest of my assessment or something during that time. Just FYI, it doesn't normally say end of therapy, sorry. It gives you an activation code. There is no activation code. Honestly, I can't ever remember which button gets rid of it, so I just kind of do this until I get standard mode. You're going to hit go. It always gives you this for a while. I think it automatically would go off on its own. I just get a little impatient, so I just keep hitting button because it makes me feel better. His total volume, so he gets 5 exchanges of 2.2. Sorry, he gets 4 exchanges of 2.2, which makes it 8,800. His last fill is 1,500 of isodex, which gives me a total of 1,300. The machine does not do one, it goes in 500s, so his total volume is going to end up being 10,500. This is already blinking, so you're going to hit your button up. 10,500. You're going to hit this button here. You're going to go down. His therapy time is 9 hours. You hit this button until it blinks. You're going to go up. Till 9 hours. You hit that button here. You're going to go down. His fill volume is 2.2. You're going to hit this button here till that's blinking, and you're going to go to 2200. You're going to hit this button here. You're going to go down for your next. Your last fill is your isodex. So you're going to hit this button so the 0 is blinking, and you're going to go to 1500. I normally would have his order in front of me. I've just done him quite a few times, and so I did not reprint it off. I do always check to make sure it's not changed from one day to the next. You're going to hit this button here. You're going to go down. So in this case, if you just had, like my other video, 2 bags of 2.2 and that was it, this would be fine and you would hit the return arrow. However, he has two different types of fluids, so you're actually going to hit the button so it blinks. You're going to go up, actually in this case down, until it says different, and then the return arrow. You're going to go down. He is 70 kilograms. I'm actually going to hit this again. Actually go down. There's going to be a 1. You're going to hit this so the 1 will blink. You're going to go up to 70. If it's close, we round up or down. Essentially, you are done, and you're going to be ready to prime here in a minute. I hit my stop thing. It's going to say check eye volume. If your patient is empty on put on, you're going to want to change that to 0. I might do an extra video for that. Otherwise, this will blink for a little bit or beep for a little bit and it'll go away, but the machines are usually automatically set at 1400. I will say we do have a lot of patients that do not have a last fill. There is a way to not take that 1400 out in the beginning. Once you hook them up, it'll beep at you and you'll have to fix it at that point if you don't do it before you hook the patient up. I don't know if it helps to keep hitting these buttons. I just do. It's like hitting an elevator button. So you'll see at this point, if he did not have a last fill, you would take this down to 0. He actually does have a last fill of 1500. You could actually increase this to 1500. You're going to go hit the return button. You're going to go down. Oh, come on now. You're going to hit the return button again. You're going to go down. This machine is not user friendly, by the way. It automatically calculates the number of cycles. It'll tell you the dwell time for each cycle. You're going to press go to start. Now, since we did this backwards, it's going to tell you to load the cassette. The cassette is already loaded. You're going to hit the green button. It's going to self-test. Sometimes that can take a little while. Just FYI, when you hook up the bags, you do wash your hands really well. You wear gloves. They do not have to be sterile, and you also wear a mask. And then obviously you use the proper protocol when you're in the patient's room and hooking them up with everybody wearing a mask and taking your dressing off and then changing into sterile gloves like we would do for like PICC lines and stuff. The self-test takes a little while. This is also the time where a lot of times I will set up for my dressing change. And I've taken my gloves off because I'm not going to be doing any connections anymore. This is going to tell you to connect your bags, which we've already done. It's going to tell you to open your clamps. This is when I double check and make sure all my clamps are open. All my phalanges, once again, are done. Those have been done. You're going to hit the go button, and then it's going to prime. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to prime. If everything is hooked up correctly, you should be good to go, and then you'd be able to hook up your patient. This whole thing took, even with my bumbling, took about 11 minutes, so it's actually pretty easy. Between this one, the third bag with the isodex, and the 2.2, which is the 2 bags, those are the ones we do. Even if I had a gentleman who had 2.2 bags and a 1.5 bag, hooking it up would be the same. I've only seen one person with 4 bags, so it does not happen very often. And other thing that Tiffany taught me, and I'm a messy girl, so I always put this line a little bit higher up, and then when I pop that top, I try not to do it over the patient because it will spritz them a little bit. She used to give me a hard time about that. With this isodex bag, you just want to make sure that you keep the empty bag clamped, and that you take the clamp off the fill bag. If you are priming and it says check final line and it stops priming, it's probably because either you didn't break the phalanges on this or your clamp was still engaged, or by chance you did not break the phalanges here, or make sure your blue clamp is unclamped. And then finally, if everything goes well, it's going to say check patient line and connect yourself. By this time you've had the dressing changes done and you're literally are just waiting to hook up the patient. Once you hook up the patient, which I actually am going to program, I am not at bedside, so I'm going to actually program this again. I didn't want to be videotaping in a patient's room. Once you connect them, it's going to say hit the red button, and it will say initial drain. And that's basically all there is to it. If you get a low volume alarm before the initial fill, that's something about the way the machine is set up. If you get a check low volume after you initially start filling, that's something to do with the patient. Either there's a clog in the line, or he's laying on his tube and there's a kink in it. You didn't open the roller clamp all the way. We have some patients who have a lot of fibrin in their line. You turn them on their side, you set them up, you get them in a chair. I've actually had them do semi-jumping jacks to try and dislodge that, and then just reset the machine, and hopefully it'll behave itself. Worst case scenario, you can try calling Baxter. There usually is like an hour wait for assistance.